Welcome into the CHGO Blackhawks Podcast. Happy Friday. Jay Zawaski, Greg Boysen, and Greg Braggs here with you today. We've got the Greg Braggs Bears energy behind the board, so it should be firing us up for this show today. Thanks for joining us. Make sure you smash that like button on our YouTube page. Make sure you're following the page as well. Podcasters, make sure you're subscribed, following, all that good stuff. Leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. We got a big show for you today. As you know, February 25th, 2024, the Chicago Blackhawks will be retiring that jersey right there, number 7, for Chris Chelios. And yeah, there's a lot of things to talk about here. But Greg, you were there last night, as was Mario, who's in the chat. Mario, you're off.
Yeah.
Go away and enjoy your time with your wife. What is wrong with you? My God. Anyway, you were there. Let the people know, what was that like in that moment where Pearl Jam brings Chris Chelios on stage thinking it's a tribute for Rocky Wirtz, and all of a sudden...
Yeah, it was really cool. Chris was on stage Tuesday night, too, in a different fashion. Ran out to give Eddie one of his guitars wearing an Evel Knievel jacket and motorcycle helmet. So,
sure. Hey. If Pearl Jam is on stage or the Cubs are playing baseball, Chris Chelios is there.
Right.
Yes.
And they even sold Chris Chelios T-shirts, Pearl Jam Hockey Club T-shirts with a caricature of Chelly on it, which, of course, I bought one. But no, it was fun. They brought out Chelios for the encore break, and he read a little thing about Rocky Wirtz, and Chelios got the fans to do the Rocky chant. And then Eddie was kind of like, well, that's not, this is all great, but that's not the real reason we have you on stage. He says the Blackhawks put together this little thing, and we want to show it so up on the screens. Unfortunately, where my seat was, I was parallel to the screen, so I couldn't see it.
Yeah.
But they showed a little montage, put the stats up with Chelios, and then the banner drops. And it says, the date on that, and the crowd went crazy. And Chelios had no idea, so it was a big moment. And the rest of the band came on stage, and they were all wearing Chelios jerseys, and they performed the song "Given the Fly," all wearing the Chelly jerseys. So it was really cool. And we got to speak to Chris this morning, and he said he had no idea. He told us that he said, they originally told me that this 10:30 media availability was supposed to be him meeting some season ticket holders.
Yeah.
And he was like, why the heck are you scheduling me for this the night after a Pearl Jam concert? You should know better. But he said Eddie played dumb the whole way through. And when Chris reached out to Eddie Vedder about doing a tribute to Rocky, and he was like, I don't know who Rocky Wirtz is, but apparently he'd been doing his homework for 2 months, working with Danny Wirtz and Jamie Faulkner on putting this together, and it was a big surprise. Really cool. And I mean, if Chris Chelios wasn't cool enough,
yeah,
he gets to have Eddie Vedder of Pearl Jam announce that they're retiring his number. I mean,
I can't imagine a cooler way to find out.
That's a huge flex right there.
That's amazing. It's very cool, and it was awesome to be there. We are going to share Chris Chelios talked for about 7.5 minutes. We'll share that video with you here in a second. But before we do, we have found our new
findable offense.
Re-sign Kaner.
The elephant in the room. Guys.
Everybody. Brent Seabrook will get his day.
Yes.
He is still under contract with the Tampa Bay Lightning. We're going to go over the criteria that the Hawks are reportedly using to choose the players that will have their numbers retired. Trust me, Brent Seabrook is going to join Chris Chelios up there with his own night and his own banner, as he deserves to be. But
both of these players will be honored for the number will be retired for both. It's going to be Chelios' night first because Chelios played before Seabrook. He meets the criteria.
Yes.
And this might be a hot take to some of the fans that didn't jump on until the late 2000s. Chris Chelios was a better hockey player than Brent Seabrook, and I'm not slamming Brent Seabrook. Of course,
there's no doubt about it.
Chelios was better. When Brent Seabrook debuted, you know what my first thing was? Who's this guy wearing Chris Chelios' number?
Yes.
I love Brent Seabrook, and he deserves it.
Yes.
So much so that they both deserve their own night to be in the spotlight. Yes, when they retired 3 for Keith Magnuson and Pierre Pilote, they did it together. Also, Keith Magnuson wasn't available to be there. So that took a little bit away from that too. But these two guys are going to get their own night. So
yes,
we'll go through the criteria here in a couple minutes, but Siebes will have his night, and it will be his night. He doesn't have to share it with Chris Chelios.
He shouldn't have to.
He'll be able to come and share it with all the guys from the Cup team will be there, just like this game against Detroit, and of course it's against Detroit. I love that. It's going to be like I'm going to be fanboying the whole night because it's going to be Jeremy Roenick there, Gary Suter there, Mike Keenan might be there, Steve Larmer,
yep,
Dennis Savard,
Amante,
Steve Smith, all those guys. Ed Belfour is going to be there. So it's going to be like my 12-year-old room with all the posters and pictures of Hawks guys. They're all going to be there, and I'm just going to be like, it's going to be the Chris Farley show for
yes,
tonight.
Exactly.
And I can't wait.
Be awesome.
It's going to be so much fun. And Chelios deserves that. And then in 2 or 3 years from now, Brent Seabrook deserves the same thing with all of his former teammates and coaches.
100%.
It's going to happen,
it's
guys.
Going to happen.
It's okay.
There's no, do you really think the Hawks are going to come out and say, we're retiring number 7? And just you think they just forgot about Brent Seabrook wearing number 7? Of course he's going to get his number retired. And it bothers me that this happens last night where they announce an all-time Blackhawks great, a Chicago native, all the things that Chicago fans supposedly love. And the first thought out of people's mouths is, what about Siebes? Critically think here, folks.
Yeah.
Of course it's going to be both. Chris Chelios deserves his own night, just as Duncan Keith will get his own night, and Jonathan Toews will get his own night, and Patrick Kane will get his own night, and Marian Hossa got his own night.
And these are numbers they'll never be able to wear again.
Yes.
Correct.
7 was done. You can never wear number 7.
How many numbers do they already have retired?
Not that many.
1 is retired. 3 is retired for 2 players. 9, 18, 21, 35, and 81.
That's impressive. You just ripped that off because
those are my roulette numbers.
Okay, okay. Yeah, because the Bears have reached their limit.
Yeah.
The Chicago Bears have reached their limit of retired numbers.
The Hawks,
so they can't.
Being an original 6 franchise, they're almost 100 years in the league. They've kind of saved it for the all-time greats, as it should be. But they're going to start running out of numbers if you start.
Yeah.
Retiring everybody from those Cup teams. So you really have. That's why they released this criteria to kind of
because you guys are blowing my mind again. Like when you did and you said Duncan Keith was better than Patrick Kane and Jonathan Toews. Now you're doing it again with Brent Seabrook and everyone in the chat saying 100% Brent Seabrook should be retired. I watched those Blackhawks years. It would have never occurred to me that he was in that level.
100%. Yes.
He deserves to be. Not just for what he did on the ice, but he was one of the most revered Blackhawks of all time. People will tell you, Jonathan Toews was the captain of those teams, but Brent Seabrook was the leader. He was the guy that when someone needed to kick over a garbage can in the locker room, or grab a guy and shake a guy and say, hey, get your head out of your ass. He was the guy to do that. I mean, he did it in front of everybody with Jonathan Toews in the penalty box in Detroit.
Yep.
Did it for the whole world to see. So, the Seabrook deserves it, and he'll get it. Just not now. And why retire all these guys in the same years? Spread it out. They're good PR nights. They're good marketing days, and it's good to have those guys come back. It gets the fans, older fans, interested again. You don't need to do it. You don't need to do 5 a year.
Right. Okay, before we get to
we got
$100
before we get to that, we got a huge super chat.
That is our biggest super chat ever. We're not the Bears show.
Did you do that on purpose?
Is that
a fat finger?
Duke, you're on notice right now.
Yeah.
Steve Belat. Wow.
Steven says, as a third-generation Hawks fan, I really want to thank the 3 of you as well as the rest of CHGO. You've made this changing of the guard really easy to take. Keep up the great work. Thank you, Steven. That's awesome.
Even without the $100, those are kind of.
I'm gonna leave that up there for
a
minute.
Wonderful.
That's most impressive.
Awesome stuff. Thank you. Appreciate the awesome super chat there and the kind words. It's what we're trying to do here.
Absolutely. And by the way, happy 2-year anniversary to our friends at PHNX.
Yep.
All right, before you hear from Chris Chelios, a couple things. Pay attention. This is important stuff. Because of the date being announced yesterday, we are ready to announce the dates for our Blackhawks takeovers. And guess what, friends? Before we knew that Chris Chelios was having his number retired on February 25th, we here at CHGO Blackhawks reserved that date as the second of our United Center takeovers. Yep. So if you want to go to the Chris Chelios jersey retirement game,
you can get your tickets from us.
Get your tickets from us. They'll be available on Monday. Yep. Monday they go on sale. You'll be able to buy the tickets on Monday. The other game is Saturday, November 4th versus Florida. So Saturday, November 4th, Sunday, February 25th. Those are our two takeovers. But if you want to get into the Chelios game, wait till Monday. Do it through our link. Join us. Hang out with us. Maybe Chelly comes and visits the section. Last time we had a takeover, Danny Wirtz came by and hung out for a while. So hold tight. You'll have your chance to get tickets on Monday.
Don't go to the secondary market.
Yes. Get them through us.
Not only are you going to get tickets to the game, but there'll be a pregame party, likely at the Goose Island pub again at the United Center. That was just very convenient.
Yeah.
There'll be a T-shirt merch, some sort of merch that goes along with it, as they do for all of our takeovers. So if you're already thinking like I got to get tickets to that game, don't go run out yet. Wait till Monday, and if you're a diehard, you're going to save money. Hey, if you want to go to both games, and you're not a diehard yet, become a diehard, and the money you save on those two tickets is going to pay for your membership right there. Plus, you're going to get a free shirt and all the other perks.
Yeah.
So
there's
diehards
also
get the discount.
Also, if you buy, from what I understand, if you buy both games, November 4th and February 25th, you'll get a discount for buying both.
Yes.
So keep your eye out. We'll tell you on Monday. We're probably going to launch the tickets for sale and to go parallel to when we start the show. So make sure. Also on Monday or next week, we are going to very likely have a special guest on the show Monday as it pertains to the things we're talking about.
Yes.
And remember, we also have a big show planned for Tuesday. So
exciting week next week.
Yes. And today we had before we get to Chelly, we got to see the man himself in person.
Yes.
We got to see Connor Bedard on the ice.
Yeah.
With his line mate Artem Anisimov, and who else was he out there with? It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
He was on the ice at Fifth Third today with a bunch of Hawks.
There were some Hawks and former Hawks, pretty much just playing like a beer league game out there, just getting warmed up. It was kind of fun. We stuck around and watched a little bit.
We saw JT Compher in his Red Wings gear. We saw Vinny Hinostroza in his Penguins gear,
and Artem Anisimov in his like Swedish league gear, or Swiss league KHL jersey with his Lehigh Valley Phantoms socks on. It was fun. It was cool. A lot of the young players were there. Kevin Korchinski, Ethan Dermastro, Nolan Allen. Right, a lot of the guys are going to be taking part of the prospect practices and tournament next week. So I mean,
now Dale owes us $1. Chelly deserves it, but I'm sorry. There needs to be a Seabrook co-retirement. There will be.
Yes.
He will get his own day, everybody.
Rewind and watch the first 5 minutes of the show and join us later. It's going to happen.
It's going to happen. It's going to happen.
The outright, diehard sports fans, obviously, we're diehards. We were diehard sports fans. We're diehard sports fans here. They get upset over the silliest stuff sometimes.
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
I love Dale. Dale's a good dude.
Yes.
I'm just telling you, don't panic. He's going to get his own day.
Yep. I actually like it better this way, that each guy gets his own night as opposed to cramming two ceremonies into a half an hour. Let each guy get their own big day.
I was at the joined retired number for Fergie Jenkins and Greg Maddox, and we were sitting like 7 rows behind home plate, me and my buddy. And there were 2 open seats, and then these 2 ladies sitting to the left of us. And my buddy kept talking to him. I'm like, hey, I think the 2 open seats are going to be their husbands coming over here. How about you lay off? Sure enough, Randy Hundley and Jody Davis, the catchers for both those pitchers, came and sat next to us for the whole
Love
game.
Jody Davis, one of my all-time favorite players from my youth. I liked Randy Hundley until his son Todd became a Cub.
Ooh, let's forget about that. Let's forget that happened. All right, why don't we hear from the man himself? Chris Chelios met the media today. Dale gave us $2 for mentioning that Seabrook needs a night. Thank you, Dale. All right, let's hear from the tan one himself, Chris Chelios. This was this morning at Fifth Third Arena. Here he is, number 7, Chris Chelios.
Get any sleep?
Tell from the sound of my voice, not really, but it was worth it. So, no, big night, obviously, crazy. No idea what was coming, and I've actually talked to Eddie about doing something for Rocky Wirtz, and he acted like he didn't even know who Rocky was, and he'd been doing the homework for months ahead of time to prepare for that whole thing. But it was shocking, quite honestly.
As time had gone by after your career, did you think maybe this is something that wasn't going to happen for you?
Honestly, that's when I did think about it. And I thought, maybe I just didn't play anywhere long enough. Obviously, my career was 26 years, 27 years, but I just felt like I didn't play anywhere long enough to establish it, to get this accomplishment. So, and the fact that it happened in my hometown makes it all that much more special. Not to downplay the Hall of Fame at all, but I had 100 people up there. And I can't imagine now I'm going to get to have all my friends and family and coaches and teammates at this. So I'm looking forward to everything except the speech that day. But I can't thank the Wirtz family enough, Rocky, Bill Wirtz, and what they've meant to me and my family. And now to get this is going to be something real special.
You mentioned former teammates in Chicago. Are there any Blackhawks teammates that you think about at a moment like this that really stood out, either having an impact on you off the ice or playing with them?
The first guys that come to mind were Jeremy, Eddie Belfour, Tony Monte, and I got along with everybody. To see Mark Bell last night, and then it's never happened to me before in my life, but my phone by 1 in.the morning, I had over 200 texts, and that's overwhelming for me. And I just quit. I was trying to keep up, but old teammates, Mike Keenan, old coaches, and I'm sure it's going to continue throughout the day. But it means a lot to me. It really does. And I've always said friends and family, then teammates, and I've had all support my whole career, and that was kind of my legacy of what kind of teammate I was with them, and treated everybody the same. And now it's coming back to, I got the reward, the ultimate reward.
As a Chicago native, you wore the Hawks uniform, and now when you go into the UC, you're gonna see your number in the Raptors. What does that mean to you?
Not my wildest dreams would have ever thought. My dream wasn't to play in the NHL, so the fact that I made it, and then what happened throughout my career and what I accomplished with the cups and individual stuff, and but again, my hometown and seeing my childhood heroes, Magnuson, Hull, Makita, Esposito, a little bit too young for Glenn Hull, but yeah, it's. I'm not going to say I don't think anybody from Evergreen Park's ever going to accomplish what I've done, but I hope they do. But from where I came from, I look back, it's pretty amazing. What I think back, this should have never happened, and it did.
It's got to be special too, being welcomed back to the organization a few years ago, and now with Kaylee with the organization. I'd imagine, like you said earlier, now this solidifies you as a Blackhawk. There's no question beyond.
Yeah.
Detroit, Chicago, Montreal, and Chicago for sure, right?
Yeah, and although I played for those other teams, which I can't thank them enough also, but I never stopped being a Chicago Blackhawk fan. When they won the Cups, I was a fan. Those three, and I lived it just like a fan, and went to the parades. So I never stopped being a Blackhawk fan, throughout my career, even though I was with the enemy, the big enemy, the Wings at one time, which could have been a disaster for me because Chicago disowned me for a little bit, and Detroit didn't accept me till I won that cup as part of their family with them. So, but I keep harping on it. It means the world to me to be able to work with Kaylee now, and I always knew I was going to come back, take care of my mom, and my kids are all here. So it was just a matter of when, and Rocky Wirtz and John McDonough and the Blackhawk family, made it happen, and I couldn't ask for a better way to go out.
Did you smile a little bit when you saw that it's going to happen? It just happens the Red Wings are in town when the banner goes
I
up.
warned Rocky and John McDonough that it's too early, and that's probably the wrong team to do it. And within minutes, I was getting booed off the ice, and it actually was funny. The reaction Rocky made when I said "let bygones be bygones," and I ran into Rocky in the Sonia Henning room. I've never seen him laugh so hard, and he was crying about it. But again, it all worked out. Felt bad at the moment because my kids, I think my daughter Tara, started crying. My dad was angry. I watched him. He just said he wanted to kill everybody. But like I said, it worked out. There was a lot of fun.
Was there like any message from a former teammate or a family member that you received after the announcement that like really like stuck out to you or made you, really like, wow, this is like happening?
I think Mike Keenan, like I've kept in touch with Mike over the years, and those were the glory years for me. We, came up short in 91, 92 against Pittsburgh, but, we won and we were competitive, and, the stadium was rocking. And so my coaches, like they gave me the opportunity my whole career. And Mike, he made the trade basically and talked, Mr. Wirtz and pulling and getting rid of Savvy, which, he was a crowd favorite and a hero here. And then for Savvy to come back and I got to play with him, which was pretty special too. But, Mike Keenan, he showed a lot of confidence in me, and I loved him. And he was the one guy that the minute he texted was pretty touching.
So you're up on stage with Eddie and the video's playing. At what point did you realize it was a jersey retirement? Was it when that banner came down in the video, or was it a little bit before then?
It was about 20 seconds of it, but he kind of whispered to me, he goes, hey, come over here and look at the monitor. So I really honestly thought it was a tribute for Rocky. That's all and Eddie played so dumb 2 days ago. He said he'd never heard of Rocky, and meanwhile, but honestly, I found out he's been doing this, working on it for 2 months with Jamie and Danny, and I kind of looked up. I go, that's not a tribute to Rocky. And then I think I know what's happening here. And then I just was in shock, like almost like a blackout type thing. And I just wanted to get off the stage at that moment. But he made it special, and the whole band, they've been a part of my life personally since '95, and even before that, when I followed Pearl Jam, but then to actually become friends with them, and Eddie's a special person. I think everybody realizes that at this point, and he truly loves Chicago, and his heart's here, and I couldn't ask for a better friend. And to have it done that way, like nobody's ever had that done like that. I don't care. That was special.
How was the concert?
I've never been to a bad Pearl Jam concert in my life, and again, you could tell he puts a little extra oomph into it, when he's at home in Chicago, and now he announced he's going to be at Wrigley next year, so the fans love him. They support him. You heard that story about him going to his old neighborhood in Evanston the other day, which is amazing, and then brings that family to the show and puts them in front row. That's the kind of things he does. He touches a lot of people's lives, and he never says no to anybody, which is pretty amazing.
The Fifth Third Arena, cool to be there. You could tell he started getting emotional a couple times during that talk, and I really do think this caught him off guard. He had no idea, and he said it there, like he had sort of thought, well, maybe I wasn't here long enough or in Detroit long enough or whatever, and I'll probably just never have my number retired. And for them to reveal it to him in that way was just awesome. I mean, think about if for us to launch our takeovers, it's like a 5-person job to get all the logistics together. Yeah. How about coordinating with Pearl Jam, all their tour managers, their video production crew, coordinating getting Chris on stage, having him somehow not find out about it, keeping this completely under wraps until last night. They just did a great job, and how special for Chris to have that happen in that atmosphere, to immediately get the reaction of the fans. Yeah. Just very, very cool. They absolutely knocked it out of the park, and this is really the first Danny/Jamie exclusive thing, even though it was Rocky that wanted to do this. I'm interested to see what other creative ways they have, because now the bar's been raised for these guys. How are you going to tell Taves? How are you going to tell Kane?
For sure. You kind of paint yourself in a corner, now we have to do this or better for everybody. It's kind of like, the trend that's gone on social media the last few years for the NFL teams announcing their schedule. One team did something super creative. Now everybody's got to top that. So, it'll be fun to see how they do, how they handle some of these other ones coming down the line. And on the other side of our read, we'll get into the reported. Let's see. Lebowski says this is the equivalent of Jerry Garcia telling Bill Walton on stage at a Dead show that his number's being retired by the. Yeah, that's spot on. Yeah,
I like that.
Head of the hammer, meet nail. That's it right there. Yeah, we'll get into that reported criteria of how they select that right after we tell you about our good friends over at Ray Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram. And if you're not doing anything tomorrow, you should go visit Ray Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram in Fox Lake, because tomorrow, Saturday, 9/9, is their grand reopening. Get your ducks in a row and flock in September 9th and celebrate their Get Ducked event. Ducked with a D.
Yep.
Win free prizes and your chance to win $1,000. Who doesn't want free prizes and $1,000? Plus, during Jeep Adventure Days, get employee pricing on all new 2023 Jeep Gladiator models, not Gleep, Jeep Gladiator models. The grand reopening of Ray Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram in Fox Lake is only on September 9th, but the savings are all month long. So go visit them tomorrow. And if you can't make it tomorrow, but you want a new Jeep, well, go check them out, and you'll get those savings at our new friends at Ray Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram.
Do that, and then get stocked up for the football season ahead at FOCO. Get fitted out in the best sports gear around. Hoodies, shoes, signs, bobbleheads, everything in between. As baseball season winds down and football season ramps up and hockey season ramps up, you're going to want to turn in those Aloha hats and those straw Aloha shirts, those straw hats for the hoodies, for the overalls we saw Emma and Sarah rocking yesterday during the show. Tons of great stuff at FOCO, including a lot of the stuff on our set. Not that jersey. That's mine. That's signed on the front, by the way. I got that as a gift from my uncle when I was in maybe high school. I don't remember exactly when, but get decked out at FOCO. Check out FOCO.com or click the link in our description for all non-presale items. Use that promo code CHGO for 10% off. Again, that is FOCO.com, FOCO. And if you missed it earlier, we want to remind everybody that Monday, tickets go on sale for both of our CHGO Blackhawks takeovers, November 4th versus Florida, and most importantly, February 25th versus Detroit, as they raise number 7 to the rafters for Chris Chelios. So as this story came out last night, you started seeing reports of this newly established criteria that the Blackhawks are reportedly using to determine who will get their jerseys retired. So I guess you'd call them like maybe like organizational standards or something like that. So as they go through the process of determining, they say, okay, do they meet X number of these criteria? And I think this is a good idea because it really puts something in place that helps them with the thing. And also, as Mario Tirabassi did last night at 3 a.m. for some reason, crunched the numbers and he gave us all the names that check the boxes here. So we'll tell you the criteria, and then we'll tell you the names that Mario found. A couple of these things here. Again, these are the reported organizational standards the Hawks are using for jersey retirement. Player must be retired for at least 3 years, not including long-term injured reserve. And what I don't know is, are these... I don't think you have to check every single one of these boxes.
Right.
But several of them.
Yeah, probably the statistical stuff for sure.
Yeah. Next one. Minimum of 8 years and 500 games played. 400 for goaltenders with the Hawks. Okay. Is enshrined in the Hockey Hall of Fame or has played 1,000 games, 700 games for a goalie with the Blackhawks. Okay. Played more games with the Blackhawks than any other team during his NHL career. Chelios checks that box. Actually, all these are checked so far by Chelios. Among the most prolific Blackhawks at his position, as evidenced by on-ice performance, all-star selections, and major NHL awards. Salute. Check. That is Chris Chelios. Exhibited and continues to exhibit strong off-ice character. That is Chris Chelios. Changed the game of hockey. That is Chris Chelios. Additional consideration given for members of Stanley Cup winning teams in Chicago. Not Chris Chelios. Additional criteria, a consideration given for the entire body of work done by a player for the Blackhawks organization, including time as a broadcaster, ambassador, and the like. Chris Chelios would check that box too. So he checks basically all of them except for winning the Stanley Cup. And those last two leave a little bit of flexibility in there for the Hawks. Mm-hmm. And I think as we go through the list of names that are eligible based on this list, you could see where that flexibility might come in handy. So here's what Mario pulled last night. Again, this was at 4:35 a.m. on his anniversary after a Pearl Jam show.
Dedicated.
Must be nice to be young.
That too.
Here are the players eligible, pulled by our Mario Tirabassi. Jeremy Roenick, Steve Larmer, Tony Amante, Nicholas Hjalmarsson, Patrick Sharp, Troy Murray, Bob Murray, Dennis Hull, Doug Wilson, Corey Crawford, Eddie Belfour, Jonathan Taves, Patrick Kane, Duncan Keith, Brent Seabrook. I think those last 1, 2, 3, 4, Taves, Kane, Keith, Seabrook are in for sure.
Yes.
I think that eventually Larmer is going to get in. And I think with Chelios going in, I think Belfour has a really strong argument too.
Yeah. And and with Belfour, the goalie numbers, they don't get worn a lot.
Yeah.
Roenick, he might have to wait till Lucas Reichel retires. I mean, you don't really you tend to not retire guys' numbers when somebody currently is wearing it. It happens.
Yeah.
You could have what was that? Ray Bourque wore 7 his first year.
Yeah.
And then they retired it for Phil Esposito, and he switched to 77, but he had that ceremony where he took off the 7, and that was cool. So
that is cool. Maybe Lucas Reichel can do that for Jeremy Roenick.
Maybe. But, there was one of those criteria that JR might have some trouble meeting.
Yeah, and I hate to put Roenick's off ice stuff in the up against Bobby Hull's off ice stuff. Right. It's totally different. He has got a big mouth. He doesn't have a filter. He crosses the line sometimes.
And it doesn't make you a bad person.
Yes, it makes him a guy with not great judgment.
Right. And we've all been guilty of that.
Of course.
Many points of our lives.
Yes. But then you get into the territory too of, okay, a lot of these guys are worthy based on this criteria. But then the question is, if you retire too many, does it lose value?
I think it does.
I think so too.
I think it needs to be. I think they've done it right in the history. As you were amazed at how few there were brags, that makes it even more special. If you only got 6 guys up there, 7 guys, and you get to join that, you have joined the Mount Olympus, not even Mount Rushmore, above Mount Rushmore. You have joined the elite of elite, and that's what it should be.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be guys that were really good players on championship teams. It needs to be guys that define that position. And listen, we're still talking about Stan Mikita and Bobby Hull decades after they have played. Are people still going to be talking about Patrick Sharp in the year 2040?
No.
We barely talk about Tony Amante right now.
No.
So while they were very good players and part of the best players on the team while they played, they're not legends. The retirement should be you're literally saying, you were so freaking good, we will never allow anybody to possibly tarnish that number by wearing it again.
Now, I'm assuming there's, just like we said earlier, the Bears have reached their limit. Is there a limit in hockey that they've actually have a number to?
I'm sure, but if there is, the Montreal Canadiens have probably hit that.
Well, so Lebowski5 says the Bears have 45 numbers retired. It doesn't diminish it at all. The Bears actually have 14 retired. We have the mayor, the king of Meatball Island here with us. Can you tell me the 14 retired numbers that the Bears have?
Well, I know one of them's Ed Sprinkle. I'm pretty sure.
Okay. But can you off the top of your head?
No, hell
and
no.
Who the hell
that's
is
why
Ed Sprinkle?
That's why I was so impressed when you ripped those off. Because I couldn't.
You're proving our point, right? The fact that the biggest Bears fan I know, the biggest Bears meatball I know, can't tell you the 14 guys that are retired by the Bears means that those number retirements don't have the meaning they have at the United Center. How about Wrigley Field, where it's 31 for Fergie and for Maddox, it's 23 for Sandberg,
Santo.
10 for Santo, and 14 for Banks, and that's it.
Well, let's keep it to the United Center, because when you go there and you look up in the rafters,
it's Jordan,
there's 4 numbers,
Pippen,
and I don't forget those. And I'm a bigger Bears guy than I'm a Bulls guy. But
the more you add, the less meaningful the number retirement becomes, which takes me back to the Marian Hossa thing. I'm not saying that Hossa should not have had his number retired. By no means am I saying that. However, retiring that number, I don't know why I said movie, retiring that number opens up a lot of possibilities for other guys to sneak in. Because, Hossa was great, an absolute legend. But you could argue his best individual years were not in Chicago.
True.
Right? Like his best years as a player statistically were at Ottawa, were Atlanta. He came to Chicago as a more complete player, I would argue,
Yes.
right? And learned a ton from Pavel Datsyuk, who he credits kind of the second half of his career for. But I think the more you do here, the less value it has. So for me, if you're asking me right now, who's getting their number retired from here on out, Seabrook, Keith, Taves, Kane, that's it.
Well, and and the other thing is, not only does it water it down, but now you open up the possibility once you reach your limit, if there is one, that players in the future can't get their jersey retired. Brian Urlacher and Devin Hester can't get their jerseys retired.
Right.
That's insane to me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point. Because,
Can you
you're
unretire Ed Sprinkle?
Well, that's what I say, and that's been a thing I've been saying for a while. It's time to
I've never heard of
unretire
this guy
like 5 of
before.
those names. They've had their time. They've been
Yeah.
retired since like the 30s.
Time has forgotten poor Ed
Yes.
Sprinkle.
I mean, you got to honor
I'm
the
going
guy.
to remember
yeah.
him now only because of this conversation.
Well, I think part of the reason, though, for retiring those numbers, and I know as a kid growing up a Hawks fan, and I think the Bears are at a disadvantage because they can't hang a banner. It's an open-air stadium. But as a kid, I would look up and say, who are those guys? And that's how I would learn about the history of the team. Don't the Bears have the numbers like maybe on like the sideline pads, right? Isn't that where you see the kind of, and they're just kind of smattered throughout?
Right.
There's no real like place where you can
Definitive
see them
place,
all.
yes.
And especially in a hockey or basketball arena, it's hanging there all the time, the entire game. So you almost are focused on it indirectly. So that's an advantage that those two sports have. With the Cubs, they've got them flying on the flag, on the foul pole.
And they've started to do the statue lane, which
Right.
I think more teams should implement because you talk about a visual to get kids to understand the history.
Yeah.
That's how you do
Well,
it.
look, and I think this show and the reaction since last night has shown that there is a large percentage of people that identify as serious Hawks fans that have no idea how fucking great of a hockey player Chris Chelios was.
Yeah.
You could still make the argument that Chris Chelios is the greatest American-born player of all time. Even though Patrick Kane, in our eyes, has probably surpassed him, the argument is still there. There's certainly an argument for Chris Chelios, who played until he was 106 years old at a high level. I talked about it last night. I did a Twitter Spaces. At the age 42, he was averaging like 25 minutes.
Yeah.
He finished second in the Norris voting.
Yeah.
At age 42.
I mean, that's why I like to say Patrick Kane is the greatest offensive
Yes.
player ever born, American player ever. To me, Chris Chelios is that guy. He was that freaking good.
Yes.
And I think, a lot of fans who became Hawks fans during, the late the Cup run, be it age or just because they were so bad for so long, and however you became a fan, you missed a lot of those games. Either you weren't even alive or you were too young to appreciate it. But Chelios is a legend of this franchise, no matter what. And I know there was a lot of bad blood after the whole, and people still have the grudges. I held the grudge for a while, but it's like he got traded there, and yeah, he re-signed there. But why wouldn't you, want to keep playing with Nicholas Lindstrom and all those guys and win Stanley Cups? But yeah, I think, with the 100th anniversary coming up in a couple of years, I think the Hawks are going to look towards, a Ring of Honor type thing or a Blackhawks Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
The Cubs have their own Hall of Fame.
And the Cubs do it really well. I don't know if people have seen this. If you're in the bleachers, since they've renovated, you can get to the bleachers from the concourse.
Yeah.
And there's a whole wall of Major League or Baseball Hall of Fame style plaques.
Yeah.
That is the Cubs Hall of Fame. The Hawks could very easily do that in Atrium or wherever.
Or, maybe that's something they're going to include with the Fifth Third Arena. They're expanding Fifth Third Arena.
Allegedly.
Yes, reportedly.
There seems
And
to be a lot of bulldozers.
There are a lot of fenced off areas and large
weird.
machines beeping their way in
They're
and
just
out of
pretending.
traffic there. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a train. It's a construction company training academy that they got set up there. So yeah, maybe they include something at Fifth Third, a little hockey, Hawks Hall of Fame where you do the Ring of Honor or both. But I definitely think there should be something that appreciates as you're going to get a whole new generation of young fans who are going to be in the Connor Bedard and this new crop of players.
Yeah, save 98. Can't retire that yet.
Who it just blows my mind to think about. There are going to be kids who are going to get into Connor Bedard who never saw those Stanley Cup teams that we idolize play.
Yeah.
Let alone Chris Chelios or Jeremy Roenick. So you need to have something for some 9-year-old kid coming to his first Blackhawk game can see. That's how you connect to when you
Think about yourself at 9.
Yes, when you see old jerseys or you see highlight, it's visual. It's visual. That's how you get those kids hooked from day one. Is you put Chris Chelios' jersey up in a display, and you put Patrick Kane's mouth guard somewhere, and you put a bowl of nachos out for Brent Seabrook. You do all this
Fruit and
stuff.
crap.
Yeah, you just make it visual, and you get these kids from the second they walk in. It should be an experience of before you even get to your seat, you know what it's all about, and then you get there and you see it, and you're hooked.
Yeah.
You're hooked.
I mean, look, there's a reason that as an adult, I was starstruck to meet Stan Mikita and Tony Esposito. I never saw those guys play. They were done before I was born, and I think actually Mikita played into the 80s, didn't he?
Played till 1980.
Yeah, and
technically
I was 3.
I was alive when.
Yeah,
Mikita
but
played,
no recollection.
Right.
And I was starstruck just from the knowledge I had gained as a Hawks fan about those guys, and like we were saying earlier, before the show, we were talking to Jim, our sales guy. We still get starstruck around 90s Hawks.
Yes, that night is going to be. I'm going to not be functioning because it's going to be oh my God, that's so and so, that's so and so.
Well, when Chelios walked in, I gave him the old like the Midwest awkward, the frog, the side smile, hey, how you doing? And then there weren't a lot of reporters there today, so we had to ask a lot of the questions, which was cool. But I remember there were a handful of times Jeremy Roenick came into the score, and I just couldn't even muster the courage to go talk to him. That was a superhero to me. And I think for a lot kids now in their early 20s, mid 20s, that's where Taves and Kane and Hossa and those guys are for them. And hopefully the next generation will have Bedard and maybe Reichel and Korchinski and all those guys.
I'm going to have to find it, and I'm going to send it to our production team for next week. When we took our high school yearbook, our senior pictures, you took the pictures for the yearbook in the suit, and then you were allowed to do a casual picture, so you could wear whatever you want. You took some fun little pictures. So for my high school senior casual pictures, I was wearing a Chris Chelios jersey.
Are you laying on the ground you're doing one of these?
I'm doing the Burt Reynolds on a bearskin rug. Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
Just nothing but the jersey. No, you wish.
Show feet.
But no. So my high school senior pictures, I'm wearing a Chris Chelios jersey, and then he was traded 3 days later.
So yeah, well, so here's the conversation too. As we consider Larmer, as we consider Roenick, and we consider Belfour. To me, of that group, Chelios was the best.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. So if it's just him, I'm cool with that. Would I like to see Roenick and Belfour and Larmer retired? Yeah. And for me, I feel more connected to Roenick and Belfour than I do to Larmer. Simply because both those two were homegrown. And I don't know. I just, as a kid.
And Larmer was, he started earlier. He started in the 80s. His run was mid-80s with Savard and Secord, and it carried over into the Roenick.
Larmer was homegrown too. Yeah, I think my point being, though, just they just appealed to me as a kid.
They had the larger-than-life personas.
Yeah, right.
Steve Larmer, one of my all-time favorite players, but let's face it, he was not a reporter's best friend as far as, didn't have that outgoing personality where Larmer was all about business. Get on the ice, score a goal, get off the ice. Where Roenick, had that swagger, he had that charisma, and so did Belfour and Chelios too. They were cool guys.
Yeah,
they were guys you would just as a 10, 12, 14-year-old high school senior, you were That guy's awesome.
So I say, Motley Crue on ice.
He was a they're badasses.
Not 2023 Motley Crue.
Right, no, because they wouldn't be on ice.
Yeah.
They'd be out of breath before they got off the bench.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, they were just cool guys, great hockey players, and guys you were like, man, I wish I could hang out with those dudes.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people that still do, especially with Chelios.
Yeah.
It's like we joke all the time. Like, he's been cloned. He is at every social event there is in Chicago.
And the dude looks like he could still play.
Yeah. I mean, here he was supposed to come on today. He was going to come on the show today, but he's like, I can't. I'm going to go to the Cubs game.
He's sitting in the front row of the bleachers with Theo Epstein right now.
Exactly.
We got blown off for Theo Epstein.
Whatever. What has he done lately?
Yeah.
But hopefully we get to talk to Chelly next week, and it's gonna be good fun. All right, we got another little break to give you here, and then there's a little bit of some other Hawks news I want to get to on the other side of it. But it is a sunny side Feel Good Friday, and we love those. Any day is a good day when you're at sunny side. And who made us feel good this week from Chicago sports? Hey, I am giving it to Chris Chelios. Absolutely, 100%. He made us feel good this week. So go to Sunnyside and make yourself feel good. There's one right outside Wrigley. Maybe you'll see Chelly and Theo in there stocking up after the game.
There's a good chance.
Sunnyside's your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping. Maybe Theo will have his little disguise on, his fake mustache and his hat. A place where all kinds of visitors are welcome to explore, discover, and purchase a wide array of high-quality products. Sunnyside has everything you need to elevate your football, hockey, baseball, whatever season. No matter where you are on your cannabis journey, easy online ordering and in-store pickup are available with a great transparent loyalty program called Sunnyside Rewards. It's Illinois' favorite dispensary. Go check them out. I talk all the time about my two favorite brands, the Mindy's and the Good News. How about Cresco? If you're looking for just flower, traditional marijuana that you can put in paper and light it and smoke it, Cresco is the company to use. It is excellent stuff. They've been in business for years. They've also got their own brands of vapes, concentrates, and pre-rolls. Pre-rolls are great. You don't have to do any of the work. I'm terrible at rolling joints. Just awful at it.
Plenty of guys using the flower at the Pearl Jam concert
I bet.
by section last night.
I bet. It smells like Otto's jacket.
You could tell it was an older crowd last night because there was a lot of flower in the air.
And they're like still sneaking it. Like
no, not a lot of edibles in section 332 last night.
High Supply, Floracal, Wonder Remedy, some other brands they have. And now through October 15th, head to sunnyside.shop. Use that code CHGO25 at checkout for 25% off your total order. One use per customer, not stackable with other promotions. And that's not only for new customers. Anyone can use our code. Pick up everything you need to elevate your summer. Must be 21 plus or an Illinois Med card holder. Again, that is sunnyside.shop, code CHGO25.
Hey, and if you are a little nervous about heading to a dispensary like our friends at Sunnyside and you want to go a little incognito, you need a pair of sunglasses, check out our pals at Shady Rays. They have the gear to take on the sun or disguise yourself while going to Sunnyside. They have you covered for the warm weather that's still coming. It's a little cool today, but we're still going to be around the 80s for the next few days. They've got premium Polaroid shades at an affordable price. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company that offers a world-class product that's just as good as any expensive pair we've worn. I say the best sunglasses I've ever worn. Durable frames and extremely clear optics are perfect for all your outdoor adventures. Plus, Shady Rays offers the most insane protection in all of eyewear. Every pair of sunglasses is backed by lost and broken replacements, which means if you lose or break your pair even on the very first day, they're going to send you a brand new pair, no questions asked. You can wear your Shady Rays with confidence because they're going to have your back long after you make your purchase. You're going to look great in your Shady Rays, and you're going to feel great in your heart.
Yeah.
They're going to warm your heart because together with you, their customers, Shady Rays is providing much-needed support to nonprofit partners throughout the United States with the Shady Rays Impact Program. What does that do? Well, they're doing everything from building playsets for pediatric cancer patients to providing young adults with MS the outdoor adventure of a lifetime. Shady Rays is making an impact in your community and others like it now and for years to come. And if you don't love your Shady Rays, but you're going to, but just in case you're, a little on the weird side and you don't like them, They'll allow you to exchange for a brand new pair. Maybe you just didn't like the color and you want to exchange for a different color. You could do that.
Fix your face. It's not the glasses.
Or you can return them for free within 30 days. But you won't ever need to do that because you're going to love your Shady Rays the second you take them out of the box. Hey, and if you want to get more Shady Rays, they have the deal of the season exclusively just for our lovely, beautiful, intelligent CHGO listeners. Go to shadyrays.com. Use the promo code CHGO at checkout, and you're going to get 50% off all your orders containing 2 or more pairs of their amazing shades rated 5 stars by over 250,000 people.
That's a lot of people. All right, so this came out today. Mark Lazarus for The Athletic published it about 2 hours ago. If you don't know, the NHL's assembled head coaches and GMs are meeting at the O'Hare Airport Hotel ballroom in Rosemont. And Joel Quenneville, and I got to say his name because it's
a news
newsy,
story.
Stan Bowman.
And it's not involving the Blackhawks.
Yes.
Okay. That's the rule we had.
They spoke to the league's assembled head coaches and GMs, sharing their experience and, quote, lessons learned, according to Commissioner Gary Bettman. Now, it's important to note that Mark Lazarus was not in the room where this happened, but this is sort of being relayed as to how things went. As everybody knows, both Bowman and Quenneville have been banned from the league since October of 2021 after the Brad Aldrich, Kyle Beach scandal. Gary Bettman says, quote, it gave them an opportunity to tell everybody about their experience and their lessons learned. Bettman would not get into specifics, but here's a note I noticed at the end of Mark's column here. He says, Bowman interviewed for the Calgary Flames general manager position this past summer, and Quenneville would surely be at the top of many teams' wish list should he be reinstated. Pay attention to this. Both have been working behind the scenes to earn their reinstatement. Quenneville has spoken extensively with hockey activist Brock McGillis about power dynamics and player relations, and Bowman has been quietly working with Sheldon Kennedy's Respect Group for more than a year. So, what to me this leads to is an eventual reinstatement of both people. And I am someone who believes in redemption. I am someone who believes that people can change. I'm also someone who believes that being a coach or GM in the NHL is a massive privilege and something that should not be taken lightly. So I don't really know how I would feel if those two were reinstated. I think at this moment, I still think they should sit out a little bit. And, you know, credit to both of them. Quenneville working with Brock McGillis and Bowman with the Respect Group. But you have to ask the question, are they doing this simply to get reinstated? Or is there some real remorse and is there some real learning going on? And I hate to be cynical, but... And I'm not a cynical guy. I think people that know me, I'm a glass half full, give people the benefit of the doubt thing. But I don't know. I struggle with this. I don't really know. I love to go out and be bombastic one way or the other. I just don't know. It's very complicated.
I'm in the same boat. As you just said, are they doing this work because they have to or because they want to?
Right.
And that makes a difference to me. You know, is it court-ordered anger therapy sessions or is it seeking out help because you want it?
So for clarity, in this specific event, Bettman said they were invited but not mandated to come and do this.
Right.
They came voluntarily to do this.
Well, I mean for the, they're talking to Brock McGillis.
Sure, yes.
That's what I meant.
Yes.
Like, are they seeking that out because they want it or are they doing it because it's going to help them get reinstated?
Right.
I don't know. I want to believe it's because they want to do it.
I hope so.
And I agree with you. Everybody deserves to right their wrongs. Everybody deserves a chance for redemption. You know, as far as we know, you know, this isn't like these two guys are like repeat offenders where they just continuously show poor judgment in these things. As far as we know, this is the one and only incident where, you know, we don't need to get into the details of all the scandal that cost them their jobs in the first place. All that's out there. We've talked about it a lot. I think even if they are making strides and honest about it and want to do better, I still think it's too soon.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't really, like, at some point, if you want to make real change, you have to make an example out of somebody,
Right.
right or wrong.
And is 2 years enough of an
I
example?
don't think it is.
I don't think so either.
Mike Babcock,
Right.
back already.
Yeah.
For his behavior that 2 different teams said was no good.
And help me with the old Rockford coach.
Bill Peters.
Bill Peters is back in hockey.
Yeah, they're going to put him in junior league.
Yeah.
That's no. Like, those guys have got long track records of being pudwax. These 2 have this one incident, granted,
Major
egregious incident.
Yes.
Which, it's a huge mistake how they handled that. I believe they have regret and remorse about that.
I hope so.
It's a weird position because yes, you want to set a precedent for the punishment, but you also want to set the precedent in the positive light. Let it go another year or 2.
Yeah.
Let it. Okay, they obviously want the need to come back and be part of the hockey game, so that's the punishment. We know you want to be here. We're just not going to let you come back, and we're going to let you suffer this a little bit because you do have to have some sort of punishment as opposed to just sitting out for less than 2 years.
Yeah.
Saying I'm sorry. Well, I talked to this guy and he says it's cool. To me, that's not a fitting punishment. You still, even rehabilitated criminals still have they're rehabilitated halfway through their prison sentences, but they still have to finish out their sentences.
Maybe we should find a time to talk to Brock McGillis, and I'm sure he wouldn't get into a lot of detail about what him and Joel have talked about, but I don't think Brock McGillis would waste his time if he felt that the person on the other end of these conversations was insincere. And I think that they're both going to get reinstated. It's inevitable. And hopefully, if and when they do, they use that to continue to spread the message that they gave today, right? And again, that's how you show that you've actually learned something, that you actually have remorse. It's by going out, and once you are back in that spotlight, be it next year, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, whatever, you use that platform that you've been rehanded to use it for good and use it for positive and use it for change.
Don't just show up to the guys that hold your fate and say the right things. Do it publicly. Do it actions. Go out in the community and be an advocate.
Yes.
Once you're back in that position.
And again,
don't just stop because, okay, Stan Bowman's now the next GM of whatever team, and now he no longer cares about that at all. He got what he wanted. That's what I'm afraid of.
Exactly. And again, just to be clear, I do truly feel like people can change. Like, hell, I've changed a ton since 2010.
I have too.
In many, many ways. And I'm not saying they can't change and they shouldn't have another chance, but to me right now, it feels a little too soon. But when the opportunity comes, and we know it's coming, I hope that both people, especially Q, use their power and their platform for good and for positive, and it's not just lip service. And, because the first time he speaks in front of a team, he's going to be asked about it, and he'll say all the right things. But what are the actual things you are doing on a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month basis to improve not just yourself, but the people playing for you, the community around you, all those things? That's where you show it.
Actions have more weight than words.
Absolutely.
Anybody can
Absolutely.
speak words. It's the actions that have the effect and have the meaning.
Yep. And I hope when inevitably they get it back, they use their powers for good, I guess, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, because they're going to be back.
Yeah.
We knew that from day one.
Absolutely.
So hopefully it's done in a way that can, satisfy most people. It's not going to satisfy everybody.
No, and people are going to be pissed, and
I'll be
rightfully
pissed,
so.
and I'll be pissed if it's just lip service and all that stuff. But
yeah,
let it play out. And I do agree with Quentin in the chat that the NHL should have set a definitive punishment as opposed to this kind of wishy-washy, way of, we'll discuss it.
Yeah, we'll discuss it.
It should be you're banned for 5 years, and then we'll reevaluate.
Right. We got a couple super chats to pay off before we wrap things up. I know that Young Dangle God gave us his $1 that he gives every show. Kaner jersey retirement will be incredible. 4-time Stanley Cup champ with the Hawks after he wins one more when he resigns. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. And Will Buscemi, Steve's brother, says one thing I don't like is if you go to the number retirement, you have to deal with Pudwack Red Wings fans who won't shut up about the trade.
You know, I think
maybe, but you point to that banner and say he wanted to be a Blackhawk.
Yeah, but you know what? The days of Red Wing fans taking over Hawks games are kind of over. Like, there's not as many that used to come. So, hey, we've got a handful of tickets that make sure Red Wing fans aren't going to be there.
That's right.
So
on sale Monday.
Sit in the CHGO takeover section. You won't have any Red Wing fans around you. And, boy, the Detroit Sucks chants are going to be so loud that night.
It's going to be great. So remember, on sale Monday are 2 takeovers. The first one is November 4th against Florida. The next, February 25th, Chelios jersey retirement night against the Red Wings. That's on sale then. In the meantime, Sunday is our first Bears tailgate of the season ahead of Bears-Packers. Tickets still available, Braggs? Yes?
Oh, yeah. Plenty of room for as many Bears fans. It's going to be a madhouse on the corner of Wabash and Cermak. So it's
going to be awesome. Go to allchgo.com, navigate over to that events page for all the information. As always, diehards will save. Here's what you get with your tailgate tickets. Multiple beer options from our friends at Goose Island. More on them in a moment. And all-you-can-eat food from Fire Water Barbecue. There's a shuttle to the games. You also don't need a ticket to the Bears game to attend our tailgate. Yes, you need a ticket to the tailgate, but not to the game itself. So come join us Sunday. It's going to be awesome. Our first of many, many tailgates. And, of course, that is presented by our friends at Goose Island Beer Company. Chicago's beer since 1988. Their beer roster is kicking right now, as the kids say. Did I say that? I think I just pulled that out of my ass. Oktoberfest is back.
Put it back.
Because Oktoberfest is in September. The Beer Hug family is great. My go-to, the 312 Wheat Ale. And, of course, the Full Pocket Pills. That's the everyday beer, and that's what the Goose Island Brewers are drinking. And we've got the tailgate coming up Sunday, so grab an ultra-fresh, brewery-exclusive beer at Goose Island's original brew house on Clybourne Avenue in Lincoln Park, or from their tap room on Fulton Street in Westtown. Goose Island Beer Company, Chicago's beer. All right, we are back Monday. Reminder, with camp opening next week, we're going to start our shows at 2:30. That includes Monday. Camp doesn't start till Wednesday, but that includes Monday. We're hoping for a special guest on Monday. We're almost certainly going to have a pair of special guests on Tuesday. So a ton of great content. Folks, I think we can officially say we have made it through the hockey offseason.
Yes.
The season is here. The Hawks are already on the ice. They're officially on the ice on Wednesday. Let's effing go. We made it through. Hockey's here. Connor Bedard's in town. Let's do it. Remember, Monday those tickets are on sale. So hold off. Tell a friend. Get a group together. And join us for the Florida and Detroit games. Cannot wait to see y'all there. And that link will go live on Monday. We'll talk to you then, 2:30 p.m. Monday on the CHGO Blackhawks Podcast.